Hello, in this video I'm going to discuss and show technical evidence of the development of my website. When creating my site, I decided to use the online tool Codio. I use this instead of an offline local alternative such as Brackets, because Codio allowed me to access my work anywhere. Within my Codio project, I have a folder here named Static, which holds all of the different files I need for my website, for example the CSS files, the HTML files and the image files. I also have Google App Engine files down here, for example app.yaml, which defines different handlers required for the site, for example the HTML handler, the CSS handler and the image format handler here. In order to deploy my website to the Google App Engine, I was required to install it on the Codio terminal. Doing this has allowed me to easily update my Google App Engine site using this code here. It requires me to type in my Google email and my Google email password. Doing this, it deploys my website and all of the files which have been changed since the previous deployment. Google App Engine allows me to gather data from users, both submitted by the JavaScript forms on my website and also from their user accounts. As here you can see, I've imported user accounts from Google, and I've also imported the data store feature here. This is my index. It's stored in the index.yaml file. This was required for the Google App Engine to store the data correctly in the Google data store. In these two classes here, I've defined what data I want to gather from and store in my data store. The author class here uses Google account information such as the identity and the user's email. In the posting class here, I'm defining what I want to gather about the post, so who the author was, what the content of the post was, and also the date of the post, which is actually auto-generated, which is defined by this code here. This is my data store. As you can see here, I have all the different attributes which I defined earlier in the classes on the main.app file. So here you have the ID name of the post, the author's email of the post, the author's identity of the post, the content of the post, and the automatically generated date of the post. Here I've selected a individual record in my data store. As you can see here, it has more in-depth detail about each attribute. At the top you can see the topic which the data has been submitted to by the user, so it shows where they've posted their post. In order for the user to post a record to my data store, they must first select this content box here and insert something in. I will show you an example. They then must select the post to forum button. My website automatically reads a record which the user has submitted, as you can see here at the top, the most recent submitted post. On the Google Developers Console, I can see the records which have been submitted to my website. To do this, I can run a query in GQL, or I can run a filter and select the different kinds. In this example, I've used GQL and I've run my query. It says select all from the kind posting. As you can see here, this bottom record is the record which I just submitted on my website. Here I've selected an individual entity and it gives me the opportunity to update the record. For example, here I can change an attribute, so I'm going to change this to this, and I could also add another attribute if I wanted to, but in this case I don't want to. So if I save the entity, I can see here that this bottom record has been updated to say this in the content instead of example. Developer Console allows me to easily delete a record as well. For example, here, click this and then click delete, remove entities, and then the record has been deleted. In the future, I could allow users to update and delete their own records, but I didn't feel that it was that important due to the nature of the data being submitted to my site, as it was only messages and it wasn't any data which needed to be updated. When posted on my forum page, I've allowed users to log on their Google account. This will give them a unique identity. They can do this by clicking this link here. Clicking on the link then supplies the user with this secure login page they can sign to their Google account. If the user is logged in to their Google account while posting on my forum, their Gmail will appear across the top of their post. For example, shown here. If they are not, they will appear as an anonymous person. They can also log out by clicking this link. This code within my main.py file was used by my website to generate a login or logout URL. In order to use Google accounts on my website, I need to import them. I did this on the main.py file. Highlighted on line 4 is the code which I used to do so. To improve security on my website, I decided to use a HTTPS URL, as shown here at the top of the page. Using HTTPS supplied me with a security certificate, shown here. To enable security certificates within my website, I needed to use this highlighted code here within this HTML handler. In order to get Google App Engine to read my website files properly, I needed to use handlers. For example, if I didn't use my CSS handler as shown here, Google App Engine would have not read the CSS file for my website, and my website would have not appeared as I intended it to do so. In order to use data from my data store on my website, I need to use a template method. I decided to use Jinja 2. This is the code I used to import it. Here are my template values, and also here's my template page, which is form.html. This is the HTML code for the page I'm going to use the template. So at the bottom here you can see how I've defined the templates. This is my forum page on my site. As you can see, posts have been taken from the data store and shown on the page. On my website I have two pages where the user can submit data. On both pages I've implemented JavaScript forms and buttons. This is the forum page where the user can submit posts by entering something in this form here and then clicking this submit button here. This top piece of code is for the form where users submit their posts. The second line of it is for the content box, and the third line is for the submit button. The bottom piece of code is for the form where users can select a subject to post to. It also has a content box and the submit button. This is my newsletter sign up page. The forms on this page have validation rules. The first name form needs something to be entered into it, so does the email address. The phone form requires numerical value. This is the JavaScript code for the validation rules. The first bit of code is for the first name form, the second bit of code is for the email form, and the third bit of code is for the phone form.